Hey guys, this is Casio with another progressive chess video. Today I'm going to be talking about the tactic of ghosts, which is where you force a player to give check as the first move of their series, which almost always results in a win. Before I talk about ghosts, I wanted to clarify a few things from my last video. I said that if there were 10 consecutive series played without a pawn move or a capture, that the game was a draw. That's not entirely true. If you can force checkmate, then it's not considered a draw. So, for example, in this position, where white is checking black with the queen, it's obvious that each series he could force black back. If we move this position all the way back to the first rank, it's still not going to take 10 moves. It will take 10 moves from either side here, but it's still a checkmate. It's a forced checkmate. Therefore, the game's not a draw. That rule is kind of clunky, where they say that if you can force a checkmate, then it's not a draw. But they can't say a series without a check, because there's quite a few series that are draws where one side, you can imagine each side checking each other at the end of their series, but neither side can make any progress. And finally, I wanted to clarify stalemate a bit. I said that neither side can voluntarily end in their series early. However, even in Scottish progressive chess, Italian progressive chess, both variants, one side can stalemate themselves. It's perfectly legal to do that. So in this position, say black has just promoted on b1 and ended his series. If white has 11 moves, he can just move his king into the corner. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now he has no legal moves, and he's therefore stalemated. This is a perfectly valid tactic to stalemate yourself. And I just wanted to mention that before moving on. Alright, so ghosting is a tactic in Scottish progressive chess where you force an opponent to give check on the first move of their series. So you can imagine where you make 6 moves, and then you force your opponent on the first move of his 7 to deliver check. Well, now you get 8 moves, so that's 14 moves to 1, which is almost always sufficient to deliver checkmate. There are really 3 different kinds of ghosts. Only 2 of them are really practically relevant. The first one is the discovered ghost, which is relatively easy to see and to stop. The best way to illustrate this is with a quick game. e4, e6, knight f6, queen f3, queen f6, queen takes d8, king takes d8, b5, b4, c5, d4, bishop d2, bishop takes b4, king d2, bishop a5 check, king e7, bishop a6, black bishop a6, bishop takes f1, knight c6, knight takes a5, knight c4 check. And now it should be relatively obvious that black putting his king in front of his bishop like that is not a good idea, because all you have to do is get your king on that diagonal and deliver check, and you'll force the black king to move, and then that will deliver check with the bishop. So as a general rule, to avoid discovered ghosts, all you have to do is not put your king horizontally or vertically in front of your rook or queen, and not put your king diagonally in front of a bishop or queen. So here, for example, white ghosts in 7 with king c3, d takes c5, c6, king b4, knight a3, rook d1, rook takes d7 check. The black king now has to move, and white will get 9 moves, which will almost certainly checkmate black. And that game was Linneman Kowalczyk from 1998. Look at another game from 1998. This is Hansen Sokola. e4, knight c6, d5, queen g4, queen c8, queen d8, king takes d8, d takes e4, knight f6, h5, knight c3, knight takes c4, knight takes f6, h4, king e2. This should immediately set off alarm bells, having seen the previous example. White thinks he's getting his king safe by moving it off the back rank, but moving in front of the bishop, it's obvious that there's going to be problems with that. E takes f6, king e7, king d6, king c5, king c4, knight d4 check. Taking exactly 6 moves, White will have to deliver check, and then he will get checkmated. And in fact, the game went king e3 check, knight e2, g5, g4, rook e8, and this is checkmate. Okay, so this next game is taken from the championship in 1996. This is Fred Galvin against Juraj Lawrence. This tournament is where the term ghost came from. As a result of this game, this tactic was called Galvin's Ghost, and it's since been shortened to ghosting. So instead of saying you get mated, you say you get ghosted. d4, c5, c takes d4, e4, e5, knight a3, d5, bishop g4, bishop takes d1, king d7. Now, although this is a discover ghost, in one sense, it also exhibits the second kind of ghost, which I call a near mate ghost, or just a mating ghost, which is where one side, in order to avoid mate, must either capture or interpose with a piece that would deliver check. And this one is far harder to spot. It's way cooler. It's one of the most beautiful tactics in all of progressive chess. And in this case, White can force this with king d2, king d3, king takes d4, king takes d5, e6 check. And in this position, we see that if Black moves, it's a discovered ghost. Queen would deliver check, and then he would get checkmated. So his only other option is to capture with the pawn f takes e6. And this is an example of the near mate ghost. In order to not be checkmated, Black has to capture, and f takes e6 here delivers check, and White will checkmate on his 7. This next example of a ghost is from a Fischer random game played between Pfeiffer and Cassano in 1998. And Black has 6 moves and can do a near mate ghost and force White to deliver check. So if you want to pause the video and try to solve it, this is a pretty problem. Alright, so Black begins, he's in check, so he has to get out of check. So with his first 3 moves, he comes and captures the rook that's checking him. And now with 3 moves left, we notice that if we could play bishop c3 check and cover all the squares, then either the capture with knight takes c3 or the interposition with knight d2 would deliver check to our king. And luckily we can cover both the square d1 and f2 in 2 moves with g6 or g5. Queen d4, this covers both f2 and d1. And now with the last move, bishop c3 check, White is forced to either capture knight takes c3 or deliver check knight d2. Either way, this delivers check and forfeits his 7, and then Black will get 8 moves. For this next position, I'm going to be looking at another game between Kostas Printos, a FIDE master from Greece, and Joel Yang. d4, d5, knight f6. This series by White is not the best, and makes the game much closer than it needs to be. Knight c3, bishop g5, bishop takes f6, e takes f6, knight a6, bishop b4, bishop takes c3, ending his series with check. White gets 5 moves, b takes c3, e3, and queen g4, queen c8, queen d8, a very common maneuver. And Black has to get out of check, rook takes d8, knight b8, rook d6, rook a6, rook takes a2, rook takes a1 check. White now has 7 moves, king d2, bishop c4, bishop takes d5, knight h3, rook takes a1, rook takes a7, rook takes b7, Black still has a rook on his 8, which is very powerful. G5, G4, G takes H3, H takes G2, G1 queen, Queen H1, Queen takes D5, Queen takes B7. And I believe this will be the first time we've looked at a series of 9 moves or longer, but if you want to pause the video, White has a ghost in 9 moves. Alright. The answer is D5, D6, D takes C7, E4, E5, E takes F6, King D3, King C4, and C8 Queen. And this forces Black to play Queen takes C8, after which White can move the king to D6 and promote the C pawn on the knight, and then take Queen takes C8, which is mate. So just to illustrate that, Black captures, White moves here with 2 moves, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and takes the queen, and that's checkmate. This is another example of worth pointing out the difference between progressive chess, or Italian progressive chess, and Scottish progressive chess. For example, if we were to take these c pawns off the board, even though Black has to deliver check with the first move of his series here, in Italian progressive chess this would be a checkmate, but in Scottish progressive chess Black would take, go ahead and deliver check, and White would have absolutely nothing that he could do. He has no way into Black's position, and Black has a ton of material. So this is yet another reason why I support the Scottish progressive chess rules, because I think it's worth allowing ghosts the option of not winning. Sometimes ghosts don't necessarily have to win, and I think that actually makes the game more beautiful as a result, and doesn't allow the things that don't really make sense to be considered Italian checkmates. So here's another example of a ghost that I'll let you guys try to solve. I won't tell you what kind it is. E4, E5, F6, Bishop C4, Bishop takes G8, F3, Rook takes G8, D5, Queen D7, King F7, and now let's suppose White plays Knight C3, Knight takes D5, Knight takes F6, Knight takes D7, and then the last move, King E2. So if you want to pause the video and try to solve this, this is Black to ghost in 6. Alright, so this shows how even though it looks like the king in front of the queen is safe here, if we can just find a way to get rid of the F3 pawn, then we'll be able to ghost. So if we go King G6, King H5, Bishop C5, Rook F8, Rook takes F3, Rook F2 check, and now we can see that this is in fact a discovered ghost, and White will have to go King E1 and deliver check to the Black king, therefore ghosting. I'll just wrap up this video since I want to keep these under 15 minutes so they can be uploaded to YouTube, unlike my last one which was over 15 minutes. The last kind of ghost is a Zugzwang ghost, where Black is not checkmated, nor is he threatened with mate or any kind of check. This is simply Zugzwang, where Black's only legal move is to deliver check. However, this would still be a draw in Scottish progressive chess. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on ghosts, which I think is I think ghosts are some of the more beautiful tactics in progressive chess. And now that you have a good handle on, or should be starting to get an idea of checkmates and ghosts and how the game can end immediately, we can move on to talking about material and the more subtle, slower aspects of the game. Thanks.